Hello, today we're going to talk about how to choose which reading strategies to use in a text. So we are going to start off this tutorial by talking about before reading strategies. Then we're going to move into during reading strategies and then end the tutorial with after reading strategies. Before reading strategies can come in two forms. There is a probable passage, and B, an anticipation guide. A probable passage can be implemented when there are a lot of vocabulary terms that will be taught in the reading. Students can take a look at those vocabulary words and try to make a guess as to what they think the reading passage is going to be about. So that strategy can be used when there are a lot of vocabulary words being introduced and read in the scientific text. The second before reading strategy is an anticipation guide. Here is an example of an anticipation guide for a land-formed reading. So it consists of an agree column, disagree column, and a statement. So students can take 3 to 5 minutes, no more than that, to either agree or disagree with the statement written. Sometimes to introduce a reading, I like to quickly read the statements to the class and get a thumbs up or thumbs down from the students to kind of see where they are in terms of the content. I can kind of use it as a pre-assessment before I begin teaching. And also, it's fun to go back to the anticipation guide at the end of the reading to see if students have changed how their thoughts have changed their opinions, after reading the story. Okay. The second strategy that I'm going to go into are during reading strategies. So again, there are two types of during reading strategies. There is the text structure and there is the response log. The text structure is typically used when there are a lot of diagrams, pictures, and graphs. So as you scroll through a text and you see there's graphs, there's numbers, there's data, there's all of these pieces of a text that oftentimes students skip over when they are reading a scientific text. And what we want to do when we implement this type of strategy is slow the student down and have them inspect what these different features are and what the author was trying to convey to them when including it in the passage. So let's take a look at our reading now. This is a Landforms photo album, and as you can see here, there are a lot of pictures as you scroll through. There's vocabulary as well in bold, but there are quite a few pictures. Almost the entire text is pictures. So you would use a text structure strategy for this reading. And it would go something like this. And again, this depends on the grade level of your students, the reading level of your students, how much guidance that they need when they are reading. So you can make this open-ended or you can make it extremely structured if that is the kind of support that your class needs. So what I like to do regardless of the level is I will put down the text type. The text type is a picture. The page number, page 15, and then I'll just put what the purpose was. I'll give them an example of the type of statement I am looking for. So for the first picture on page 15, we said the purpose of this text feature was to convey that an arch is a curve in a rock that forms when chemical and or physical weathering weakens in the center. So students would be taking a look at this first picture on page 15, taking a look at the arch, and then also taking a look at the picture, and then explaining what the author's purpose was for including that picture. Now let's move into the second during reading strategy, which is a response log. Now I'm going to show you the reading first, and then we'll go and look at what the format could look like if you were going to implement this into your class. This text is mostly reading. There are some pictures scattered about, but it is very text heavy. I see a few vocabulary words in here. So this reading strategy would be a response log. For a response log, students can read what the text says, code it as either interesting, confusing, important, or a main point, and W as want to know more about. So an exclamation point, again, would be interesting, question mark, confusing, capital I for important, main point, and a capital W for want to know more about. Now, again, this can be structured based on the need of your student. So what I like to do is I will put page 24. I'll say word for word what the text said, and I'll leave the code and the response blank. So let's read one. Over billions of years, Earth's surface has changed dramatically. Areas once covered by water are now dry. Continents have moved all around the globe. My code for that would probably be let's see. I would probably say that's interesting, or maybe even as a student, I might say that's confusing, because I had no idea as a student that the earth was once covered completely by water. And as a student, it is probably difficult for me to imagine that the continents were all together at one point. So I might write something like, this is confusing to me because I did not know that the continents were close together at one point in time. And that would be an example of what a student could write. Again, the motive behind implementing these kinds of strategies is to slow the student down while they are reading and have them dissect the informational text so that they can really dive into the content and comprehend the material. The final thing that we can cover is the after reading strategies. There are a ton of after reading strategies available, but just to kind of streamline your approach when you first start to implement these types of strategies into your classroom, I highly recommend doing discussion questions. And you can sometimes find them at the end of a reading. You can find them in the teacher's edition. You can make them yourself. I think discussion questions are just a great way to check for comprehension and then have the student write a claim, evidence, reasoning response when replying to the question. So I do think that discussion questions are, very effective at the end of readings because they do require students to go back and reflect and sometimes even reread sections of the informational text so that they can correctly relay the answer. Okay, well, thank you all for listening. And if you have any questions about reading strategies for scientific text, please feel free to send me an email. I will be more than happy to assist.